Hello, I'm Lauren Minnick,
And I'm Malcolm Montgomery.
and welcome to Grady Newsource Solutions Spotlight.
You've heard about the climate crisis and may have wondered, what could I do?
But stories about the environment rarely make the headlines. So we set out to find out, how green is Athens, Georgia?
We sent teams across the classic city and found a community brimming with solutions.
Each team will take us on their journey.
We'll catch an electric ride, visit the repair cafe, and the teacher reuse store.
Also, grab a certified green beer, a dinner where water is king, and check out forever pristine places.
But first, let's stop by the Athens Repair Cafe and grab a coffee with something green on the side.
Here with us are Anna Chapman, Clara Kiker, Justin Morris, and Malcolm, you are part of this group as well. You all have been working with a local Athens event called the Repair Cafe, which aims to build community and encourage sustainability by offering a place where volunteers come and fix broken household items. What have you all been learning throughout this story process?
Well, we actually learned a lot. We heard about the event. Initially, we thought, oh, it's just a nice place for people to repair things, reduce waste. But actually, we learned there's a lot more involved than just repairing things. I'll throw it to my team.
Yeah, for this story in particular, we focused on the impact as a solution to climate change. And one thing that we definitely learned is there are so many interconnected pieces to address climate change. And though this is a really small initiative, it's chipping away at what contributes to the landfill and kind of changing the culture around how we use our items and the relationships we have with them.
What was something that you found might be a barrier for people getting involved in this event?
I think it's expertise is the main thing. And I mean, they had a lot of problems with staffing and finding volunteers. That was their main drawback.
Okay, let's go watch it.
Yeah.
Hey, that's awesome.
Greeted by tall pallets of recycled materials, Athenians brought their ripped clothing, broken electrical appliances, and household items to the February Athens Repair Cafe for repair by volunteers. Abigail West, reuse coordinator for Athens Clark County, began operating this cafe about a year ago to encourage people to repair items.
The idea is people come in, bring the things that are broken. Our volunteers will be here to try to fix them, and also sit and have a coffee and chat about whatever, often things that have to do with sustainability and waste reduction.
When Athenians bring in items for repair, the life of the item is extended. This makes it unnecessary to purchase new things, which curb harmful processes that contribute to climate change through releasing emissions like methane and CO2. These gases trap heat in the atmosphere, increasing global temperatures. West said that the overproduction of items that get tossed is not sustainable.
And we know that, driving big trucks and that use diesel and gasoline and mining for new resources all the time, just mine for more and make more, that's not a viable long-term solution.
When attendees bring broken items to the cafe, they are greeted by volunteers like Michael Bregger, who say that the reuse model is an effective response to climate change.
If it doesn't have to be built or mined or whatever, it's definitely helping the environment. Every time you have to make something gets destroyed. You're creating more pollution. If you can repair it and give it a longer life, that's better for the environment.
At this cafe, Bregger repaired a variety of items and chatted with attendees. These items contributed to the 100 items that the cafe has successfully repaired in the past year. Steve Armour brought his fan in for repairs. After a bit of investigating, Armour and a volunteer got the fan running. He said that he could have utilized the item's warranty, but that would require destroying the item.
He'd snip the cord and send it to a scrapyard or a landfill. And I'd get the new heater, which would be great. It's just why don't I try at least repairing it?
Armour's attitude towards repair is exactly what West hopes all Athenians will eventually feel. She said that, despite the small scale of the cafe, it has been successful in both diverting items from the Athens landfill and changing attitudes about reusing old items.
I think it's really important that this is here and it exists. Folks hopefully more and more will know about it, and then think, oh, when my thing breaks, I'm gonna save it so I can bring it to the Repair Cafe.
Wes said she hopes that as more people hear about the Repair Cafe, the operation will continue to grow and have an exponentially larger impact. Anna Chapman, Clara Kiker, Malcolm Montgomery, and Justin Morris, Grady Newsource reporters.
Thank you so much, Malcolm. It seems like really the sense of community came out a lot in that piece, and we loved hearing what you guys had to say. Thank you.
Up next, to be or not to be. Let's see how businesses in the Southeast are looking to become B Corp certified. In the studio now, we have with us reporters Lindsay Morris, Katie Tong, and Marion Carnegie. And Lauren, you were in this group as well. Can you tell us more about how this process was and what all you found through this reporting?
Yeah, so we were reporting on B corporations, which are certified businesses under a parent company called B Lab, but they're the environmental and sustainability gold standard, and it's a really hard certification to achieve, but a lot of these businesses are coming up in Georgia, and 2 are in the Athens area specifically. So, guys.
Yeah, I think, so we talked with Creature Comforts about their certification, and it was really cool to speak with them and about how it's important for them to kind of engage the community and create a sustainable business model so that they can kind of lead the way for other businesses in Athens, like Condor, Condor Chocolates, who's also trying to get their certification right now. And it was really nice to see how these businesses wanted to do this kind of for the community and also for the environment.
Some challenges that we faced actually was like the intensity of the certification itself is a deterrent for a lot of these businesses not to do it. So Creature has been great, but Condor is ongoing for their process still, and is kind of looking at Creature for things that they have done.
It sounds like it's a really big undertaking, and everyone saw Katie use the word like grueling. Are there any challenges for companies looking to become B Corp certified?
Yeah, that's one of the major limitations of the certification. If you're a small company, you might not have the resources to devote like that much time to getting certified. Or if you're a really large company, it's so intense and so thorough that it might just not be worth it for you to spend that much time going through every single aspect of your business to decide whether or not like you can be certified.
Well, it sounds like a really interesting story. I can't wait to see it. Should we look at it?
Yeah.
Right, let's watch.
Although people may visit Creature Comforts for their craft beer, many might not know that this local brewery is a part of a growing trend in the Southeast, where businesses are taking the initiative to become B Corp certified. A certified B Corp is a corporation that has been certified by B Lab, which is a non-profit organization that measures a company's social and environmental performances. Nathan Stuck, founder of B Local Georgia, helps businesses get that green seal of approval.
I think that's B Corp in general, is like going through that assessment and going through everything is essentially that's what you're doing. You're taking your good company and you're making it great.
B Local Georgia has helped 34 companies within the state to become B certified corporations, but they aren't stopping there. There are still a number of businesses within Georgia who are trying to hop on the train of a B Corp certification. The first one to pave the way was Creature Comforts. Creature received their certification in 2021, but they aren't ready to stop at that. Ali Halenga, Creature Comforts' Community Impact Manager, comments on where Creature wants to go from here.
Our goal now is like, okay, 80 got us the certification. What will it take us to get to 90? How about 100? Like, where do we want to see ourselves? And I would say the certification of your business better to just be better for your people, the planet, and your community.
One local business, Condor Chocolates, is currently looking to get their B Corp certification, learning that the certification encompasses all parts of their business model. Peter Dale, owner and co-founder of Condor Chocolates, talks about the process of becoming a B certified company.
I'll be honest, when we started exploring B Corp, I was like, oh, well, we're reducing plastic and we recycle, and I thought that would we would be good. But B Corp it's really expansive. It just looks at all areas of your business.
B Corp's becoming that of I don't know everything that they're doing, but I know if they're B Corp certified, they're doing a lot. So that's kind of how I sell it to them. It's let's actually start really honing in on what you do, and use this process to do it. But then let's also help you tell a better brand story of your why, of your impact, of your purpose, of your mission.
It's an ethos of how they operate and how they
treat their team and their people and the community and like the impact they want to have. Like it's all kind of already there, even if it's not fully like fledged out.
With the continued support of UGA's Be Collaborative program and other businesses following early leaders such as Creature Comforts and Condor Chocolates, the future of sustainability in Athens is bright. Marian Carnaghi reporting with Grady Newsource.
That was such a detailed story. Thank you all for putting that together. I've walked past so many of those companies and really had no idea they were putting so much effort to be sustainable. So thank you for really shedding light on that.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Up next, we have Amanda Budd with the photos showing conservation easement. Hey, Amanda. We are looking at pictures you've taken of conservation easement. Can you kind of just tell us what we're looking at?
So conservation easements are a really interesting land management tool where basically a landowner can sell their right to develop land and instead give it to a land trust. In this case, I followed the Oconee River Land Trust, and so basically they manage land and essentially make sure that it won't be developed either now or anytime in the future. So it's basically a really good way to make sure that land isn't being developed and keep it natural as a space for, you know, different organisms and plants and things like that.
Sounds really interesting. It's like a really intense, forward-thinking project.
Yes, yeah, it takes a lot of management, and of course, you know, protecting land in perpetuity is kind of a big job for these land trusts.
What are some like difficulties that maybe people have that want to get into conservation easement?
Well, not all land qualifies, so it has to be, you know, a certain quality of land, you know, land that isn't already, like, you can't have land that's already really developed and be like, hey, I want to put it in a conservation easement. So that doesn't work. So there's, you know, different types of land that won't work well as a conservation easement. And also the landowners, since they maintain, like, you know, ownership of the land outside of, you know, the right to develop it, they still have to take care of some of the fees associated with, like, owning land and that kind of thing. Yeah.
All right. We're going to kind of just go through these pictures here. Can you describe to us kind of what you want people to feel in each picture? What's the point of these pictures, each one kind of specifically?
This photo, this was just an example of kind of what kind of plant species are supported by conservation easements. So this is river cane, if I'm remembering correctly, and it only grows like in really high quality habitat. So there was a lot of it on this conservation easement, probably because, you know, there's no development on that land. And it's just kind of an example of what kind of species are able to thrive without development. So it's not always just plants. You know, there's a lot of animal species that do a lot better if there isn't development on land. But I just thought this was a nice representation of, you know, what kind of organisms you can find on conservation easements. So a large part of these tours with this photo, they have, Oconee River Land Trust has a representative that kind of like helps people and answers questions as they come up. So, you know, I thought that was an interesting part of it because, you know, they weren't just like letting people, you know, roam free on the land. They were addressing questions. A lot of people were asking about, you know, the kind of habitat that you could find in this conservation easement and kind of more specifics about how they manage it. So part of that is they do yearly checkups on the land, and, you know, somebody walks around and basically checks for any signs of development to make sure that both ends of the deal are being held up. You know, they want to make sure that the landowner hasn't entered their land into this conservation easement and then gone and like built a house where they weren't supposed to. So that's kind of how they manage the land. And this is just another example, like, you know, it's not always surefire. So this is actually an invasive citrus plant. So conservation easements aren't like perfect and flawless all the time. You still have issues like invasive species that will compete with a lot of native species. And, you know, kind of, you know, it's just not a perfect thing all the time. Even though it is providing habitat for, you know, native species and preventing development, it's not always, you know, perfect 100% of the time. So yeah, that was my project.
I've got a quick follow-up on some of the things that you said. Obviously, we're doing this story for everyone, but we're from Athens. So How far away are these places if someone from UGA wanted to go?
So this one was in Oconee County, and a lot of their pieces of land, like I mentioned, are private, but they do have occasional like open to the public areas. And then there are also other places in surrounding counties that are open to the public. And then outside of the Oconee River Land Trust, I also know that Athens, as like a city, has some conservation easements, and some of them might be public. I don't know for sure, but I think they are more likely to have public conservation easements if they're, you know, the primary holder of the lands. Then it's probably public. But yeah.
Well, thank you for allowing us to see these pictures. I feel like I actually was able to go explore one of them on the tour.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Up next, we have an energetic story about electrifying the fleet. Now joining us in the studio are reporters Audrey Uphughes, RJ Taylor, and Ryan Curley. Could you tell us more about how the reporting process was for your story?
Well, our story is about the implementation of a 33 bus fleet of hybrid and electric buses for Athens, Clarke County, and UGA, and the importance of utilizing these resources to be able to help our environment and encouraging Athens residents ways that they can partake in this process.
I know a lot of people really, even if they're super mindful about sustainability, are deterred from taking the bus because it might not fit in their schedule, or maybe the bus terminals aren't close by. How are limitations like these like something that you guys found to be true while you were reporting?
Yeah, I think that's kind of one of the issues with this mode of transportation is you're not in control, right? You're following a different schedule. If it's the Athens Clarke County buses, they only run about once an hour. There's certain spots you'd have to get to the bus stop. So I think in reporting this, that was something that stood out, was that this might not work for everybody, but it is a great alternative to driving because it's limiting pollution in multiple facets, right? I mean, that's something that we learned about noise pollution. So obviously when we headed into the story, we thought, well, it's going to be all about exhaust and everything like that. But the noise that these hybrid and electric buses, they're not putting out as much noise. And we learned, just talking to different people in the sustainability world that, birds, squirrels, animals like that, like the noise affects them because that environment, they're competing to mate, they're competing to communicate with each other. The buses, any noise that's human made affects that as well. So the buses go into that, and these buses are quieter. So I think it was interesting just because taking the bus can help in multiple ways.
All right, well, should we watch it?
I think we should.
Okay.
As springtime begins in Athens, at the University of Georgia, students and Athens residents are out enjoying the sunshine and warm weather. But how can Athenians take action to help preserve the city they call home?
Taking advantage of Athens' hybrid and electric buses is one way residents can shift towards more sustainable transportation practices. The majority of the city government's 32 bus fleet is hybrid. People are encouraged to walk, carpool, or take the bus to make traveling easier.
Joe Carter, who is a frequent bus rider, says,
I think they do a great job. I mean, right on the bus, there's a big sticker that says zero emissions, so everyone clearly knows that they're implementing electric buses.
The UGA buses emit no exhaust, limiting the negative impact that vehicles have on the atmosphere. Electric and hybrid buses are quieter and reduce noise pollution, which has become an issue in urbanized areas. Birds have to compete against road noise while calling in the springtime when they once could call from one end of their home range to another. Looking towards the future, Athens, Clarke County, and UGA Transit Systems hope to expand their clean energy transportation options to students and residents by adding more buses to the fleet.
Riding electric buses around Athens is a great way to reduce air pollution, although it's not always convenient. Due to varying routes and changing arrival times, some Athens buses may only run once an hour.
So as great as buses are and public transportation is, it's not always as good as driving.
Looking towards the future, Athens, Clarke County, and UGA Transit Systems hope to expand their clean energy transportation options to students and residents by adding more buses to the fleet. With a collective effort, Athenians can better take care of the place that they call home. This has been Audrey Uphughes with Grady Newsource.
Well, Thank you for taking us through this amazing journey. I feel like I was on the bus myself and going through this journey through transportation. I really feel like I learned a lot through this.
And speaking of learning, your trash might just be a teacher's treasure. Let's take a look at a program that has a few ideas on what you can do with your old school supplies. Up next. Here with us now, we have Isaac Ashby and Kelsey Bingham, and Patrick Berry, the third member of your group, is not here with us today, but these two are going to tell us about the work they've been doing with the Teacher Reuse Store. So what have you guys been learning? What have you been doing?
Yeah, so basically covering the story, we learned that 94% of teachers have to buy their own school supplies, and that something as simple as just donating construction paper or markers can make a huge difference in the education community, and also by keeping that stuff out of the landfill.
Let's say that they go to the warehouse and there isn't enough supplies for that day. How do they make sure that the warehouse is always kind of stocked and that there's always things for teachers to be able to grab when they need it?
Yeah, well, I think you just touched on one of the key limitations, because as helpful as the store can be, it is entirely funded by donations, which means that, just like you said, a situation can happen where perhaps a teacher needs they need a certain textbook, it's not there, or maybe they need a surplus of mechanical pencils or something in particular, and there might be too much of another item. And so I think that unfortunately is one of the human drawbacks, just because if you think of, what are the circumstances that's going to lead a teacher to donate supplies, they might not be the same circumstances that would lead them to actually collect them. So unfortunately, the needs can't always be met. But in general, there is a large breadth of supplies there. There's books, binders, pencils, even mugs for some reason, I'm not sure, but there's tons of things you can use. So hopefully teachers will still find stuff that they can use for their classroom.
I do have another question. For me, I just spend a lot of my learning online, doing a lot of stuff with my computer. I don't use this paper as much as I used to, as times have kind of gone forward. So what about donating old technology? That's still working, but is that something you could do as well?
Yes, absolutely. We've heard stories about iPads and stuff being donated to this reuse store, and it making a huge difference to these communities and teachers who are using virtual learning.
Great.
Sounds like a really unique solution. I think we should go watch and learn more.
Yeah, let's do it.
Calendar.
What's a zine?
It's like a miniature magazine. Oh. So it's kind of like 3 spreads, and it's all made from like one piece of paper, and then it's cut in the middle and folded. So you can like flatten it and mass produce it basically, like really easily.
That's it. That's pink background, definitely.
Thank you so much, guys. That was an awesome story, and I feel way more educated on what to do with my leftover school supplies, for sure.
I know, me too. Like every year I always wonder what I do with my leftover binders, and now I have a solution.
Great, thank you so much. Up next, we have, last but not least, a story about water and turning a green planet blue. All right, so here with us now, we have Gabriel Fulbright, Jessica Gratney, and Ireland Hayes. And also in the group was Krista Bug, who couldn't be here today, but you guys worked on water conservation, turning a green planet blue, very catchy. What is your story about more?
Yeah, so our story is about the Certified Blue program, which encourages restaurants across the city to think about how they're using water. And there are currently 29 restaurants participating in the program.
Okay.
Wow, I didn't know it was that many, like 29.
Yeah.
I guess like talking to people, I can imagine you have a big field to cover. Were there any like memorable people you spoke with to cover the story?
One of our people, Dr. Hawkins, who's a professor here at the University of Georgia, when I was interviewing him, he actually made a really interesting point that everyone thinks that the narrative is we're going to run out of water when we think about our rivers drying up or our dams drying up. It's not that. The problem is not about the water that's there, it's about how we process and treat that water to get it to the population, which I thought was a very interesting way to think about it.
And I guess even looking at that, seeing how there's even different, we should think about this problem. Looking at the solution, is there anything that needs to be evaluated that could change going forward?
Yeah, definitely. So one thing that we found talking to different restaurant owners and people involved in the Certified Blue program was that during the COVID-19 pandemic, like water conservation kind of fell off of people's radar. So the Water Conservation Office and Lori Lofton, who's kind of in charge of the program, is definitely working to try to get water conservation like back in the conversation and at the forefront of people's minds.
Well, I'm glad to see it here in our show. I'm interested to learn more. Should we watch?
Yeah.
We went with blue because we often hear about how you should be green, and what we never hear about is being blue. This is a blue planet is what we refer to this as, and without blue, you can't even have green.
To promote water-saving initiatives, Athens-Clarke County is working with restaurants like Hendershots through a program called Certified Blue. Athens-Clarke County's goal is to make sure that the community will have enough water in 2050. If we don't manage our water usage, that goal may be unattainable. Lori Lofton is in charge of the Certified Blue program. She credits the program's name to the idea of conserving by going green. The program has certified 29 restaurants like Hendershots Cafe.
We were sort of on the front end there. And it made sense for us because we go through, obviously water's pretty important to our operation, at least the morning part of it. But it was pretty simple. Honestly, they came to us and that was it. We just put those on and we were certified blue. So I don't know if it's gotten more elaborate since then, but it was pretty cut and dry.
Hendershots was one of the first businesses to be certified. Owner Seth Hendershot says that the certification process was very easy to complete, and he has noticed a significant change in the business's water bill.
You notice a change when your bill goes from $600 a month to $500 a month or whatever, $450. That's pretty useful in our very slim margin world.
To become certified blue, restaurants must submit an application, complete a water usage assessment, and meet equipment and educational requirements. The equipment is available from the WCO at no charge. Restaurants use an average of 2,500 gallons of water per day, according to the Pacific Institute.
Athens-Clarke County was using about 28 million gallons of water a day, anywhere from 26 to 28 million gallons of water a day. After the drought, people really started thinking about conservation.
Dr. Gary Hawkins, a professor at the University of Georgia, says the amount of water is not the problem.
We have plenty of water. So do we have enough water to supply that population? That is a whole different question based on the ability to treat that water. So the question then becomes, is the water treatment plant big enough to handle the consumer needs?
Although Lofton and Hawkins shared hopeful views of water conservation becoming more popular, Hendershot expressed quite the opposite experience. He said that after the COVID-19 pandemic, water conservation is not a top priority for most people.
Yeah, I feel like on the hierarchy of social and environmental problems, water's probably fallen close to the bottom.
This has proven to be a setback for the program. To expand reach, Lofton said that WCO is exploring ideas like Taste of Blue Restaurateur and Punch Reward cards.
Our water that we send out is about a penny a gallon. And when you look at something like that, say it's a penny a gallon, that's pretty cheap. But the value that we get from water, for all of the uses that we have for it, the cost does not equal what the value of this product is.
Krista Bugg, Ireland Hayes, Jessica Gractini, and Gabriel Fulbright, Grady Newsource.
Thanks so much, guys. I thought that was really interesting, actually, hearing how people had different perspectives on the same issue, also in the same county, that we all interact with water every day. So that was a cool take on that. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us on this journey as we've gone to see how Athens can be more sustainable and seeing how local businesses are already working to make Athens a better and more environmentally friendly place to be.
Whether through local initiatives, improvements in transportation, or cooperation between the university and the city of Athens, the Classic City is turning from the city of red and black to the city of green.
So with that, I'm Lauren Minnick.
And I'm Malcolm Montgomery. Thanks for watching.